Shut up and sit down.
What's up, guys? This is Takeover Tuesday, episode 3. My name is Carlos Redlick, and I got David Allen on here also. What are we doing, man? How you doing today?
Hey, how's it going, Carlos? Good to be back for episode 3. We're going to talk about some video tricks you're going to let us know about, how you take over the world on YouTube. I'm going to talk about a little bit about money getting when I do my street shows and some psychology, and we'll probably try to tie the two together.
Yep.
So take it away, man. Tell us how to take over the world on YouTube.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things with video, and really, I'm not gonna make it too complicated. I'm actually gonna try to make this as simple as possible so everybody can just start using it. So one of the ways I take over YouTube is finding a keyword. Right now, this isn't really SEO type. I'm not an SEO guy or anything.
Right.
But one of the things that you want to do is, let's say you're a plumber in Miami, right? I always just use basic examples. So we'll just say you're a plumber in Miami and your keyword is plumber Miami. Well, instead of doing trying to rank a few videos that are really good and really high quality to the top, what I found is a lot easier is to create, like, let's say 20 different videos and then replicate those videos. And there's a way to do this in the properties of the videos. You can basically change the description and shit and re-upload videos to YouTube. So when you get 20 videos and you upload those to YouTube, you basically change the details of those and then re-upload them, and now you got 40 videos. And then you change the details and re-upload. Now you got, what is that, 20, 40, 60 videos, and you change these details in like a minute, not even a minute. And just basically within a have 1,000 videos. Now, the whole point of this is, so people will be like, well, that's kind of like what, like spamming the internet or some shit, right? So what's the point of that?
Right.
Well, the point of it is, and this works across so many different industries, if you're the only person seen, then you're basically competing against yourself. I mean, whether they like this video or they don't like this video, the next video they choose is going to be you if you've got thousands of, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
It really doesn't fucking matter. Now, there's a little caveat to that. So depending on what you sell, I would say you want to deliver more value. So like what I'm doing now in copywriting, it's taking me more videos to try and dominate certain keywords, just because the market's so big, right? So that's what you'll kind of figure out, and there's little tweaks you can do and shit to like speed that up. But with certain markets, it's a lot better to do, let's say, 50 content videos that are like 5, 10, 15-minute long, that are really teaching, and then duplicate those videos. So at least all the, quote unquote spammy videos are at least really good, rich content that people are going to like. Now, if you're selling, let's say, a software or something like that, that's pretty straightforward. You can do those like I used to do them for one software. I'd be like, hey, thanks for watching this video. Check out the link below, and you're going to be able to get, and I'd list the 3 or 4 benefits of what you're going to get with the software. Check out that link below, and it's like a 10, 15-second video, but I would have millions of them, and that's how I built one of my software businesses to over 4,000 a month, and that's how it was. We started doing like crazy arbitrage or shit like that.
Okay.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I mean one takeaway that you could do is, if it doesn't matter if you're in a local market or in a broader market, just find the keywords, like find the top keywords, and then think for every one of those, you're gonna go ahead and attack each one. Okay, and here's actually one I forgot to mention, like one of the most big fucking parts. Terrible. When you're naming your videos, it's very important to name the title, the title and the description especially, but the title most importantly, the actual keyword you're going after. So for example, like I said, if you're a plumber Miami, you're trying to dominate YouTube for plumber Miami, make sure every one of your 1,000 videos, plumber Miami hyphen, how to get a plumber. And then the next video, plumber Miami hyphen, how to find whatever, and every single one of them starts with hyphen. And that's a really quick way. Now, there's better ways. Now, if you have the time, I usually don't do that. I just do what I just said because it's faster and still rank you. But if you're able to include the keywords, so plumber Miami, in a and you change, like, instead of doing that format plumber hyphen Miami whatever, you change every one of your 1,000 videos to a custom title that just includes that. That's better. But if you're like just don't have time to do it, you just want to upload 1,000 videos in, like, 10 minutes, or set them to upload at least, and then that's just the fastest way. You can even go into YouTube default settings and set all the defaults up so you do as minimal work as possible and basically just keep re-uploading those.
Wow. Cool, man. That's excellent. That's a really good tip. I think
Yeah, it's really huge. Not a lot of people I've been talking about it, but no one really does it. So I think they just, when they hear 1,000 videos, they think they get intimidated, but it's not though. I mean, if you do 20 videos, 10 videos, 100 videos, whatever, that are customized, and then just replicate those, and each time you upload, you're uploading like 100, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
yeah.
crazy.
No, that's true. It's true. Yeah, you just have to slowly build up your little cache of videos, and then get that solid base, and then just
Yeah,
change,
I mean,
tweak.
Mike Phoenix had a great formula that I kind of model after too. It's that 10 by 10 by 4 question or something. I don't remember the full thing, but basically you do 10 frequently asked question videos, and then 10 should ask question videos. And
Okay.
so that way you got 20 videos really quickly, and it may only be a minute or two long, but that's quick content you can get out. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
So that's a really good formula, just to stir up the content and get you going, so you don't have to sit there for hours like, oh man, what am I going to write? Just figure out the top 10, the top 20 questions really, and just do a video on each of those, and you can just figure out the rest after.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. That sounds really excellent. That's a really good tip, I think. And again, it's not as labor intensive as it sounds,
Right.
but and you can provide value, which is what you should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Regardless.
exactly. It's just I think the word is arbitrage, but I'm not really sure. I don't know what it is, but it's just the pure takeover, just like our show. I mean, it's just really taking over that keyword. And if you're doing that across, 6 or 10 keywords that are really searched, and you're the only person. I mean, imagine once I get to the top of copywriting and all you type in on YouTube is copywriting. I mean, that's pretty fucking powerful. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, you're just gonna see your mug on every video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the best part is, Cardone talks about it. I think it's now more popular. Everybody wants haters now, just because it's kind of like a fad. Like, if you don't
Right.
have haters, you're not cool. I don't think now. So I think the best thing is, obviously there's people who are going to be upset with you because you're literally. I mean, I don't necessarily believe in competition, but if there was competition, you would dominate them, because you're going to take over their YouTube placements.
Right.
And it's just going to cause a little bit of trouble. But if you don't really care, because those people aren't paying you anyway, and
Right.
unless you're doing JVs and maybe you work something out, then fuck it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to promote you and say you're an asshole because blah, 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 blah. And then more people are going to want to find out if you're really an asshole, then stumble across your products and services, and,
Right.
maybe test you out. And it's the best way. I've actually had that happen. People say, you know what? I heard bad things about this former product, and I wanted to test it out for myself. So I just, and I'm like, well, that's great.
Yeah. No, I think you're right about that. I mean, I think it was P.T. Barnum who said there's no such thing as bad publicity.
Right.
I think Donald Trump is a good example of that currently, probably in the presidential.
Yeah, I mean, if you're dominating the attention, then you're the one who's really ahead. I mean, I don't know anything about politics or anything, but Trump has done a really great job of dominating the attention. Everywhere you go, at least from all the shows and CNN and everything I see, it's all basically revolved around what Trump's gonna say.
Yeah, oh, it is. It
They're
is.
like, oh, what's Trump gonna do now? Who's he gonna call an idiot? What crazy things he's really doing. He's doing some smart shit, I think.
Oh, he is. And people, even though people claim to hate him, they can't stop talking about him, and so he's
Yeah.
constantly on people's minds, and that could sway people. I mean, it's constantly in your back of your mind. I mean, that eventually you go there and say, well, I don't really like this guy, but I hate Trump, but man, he has built a bunch of companies, and he does know what he's doing business wise, and blah blah, and he'll just mark it down.
Yep. Yeah, I've always wanted to know who has more Facebook fans or Twitter followers or whatever, between all the candidates. That's actually pretty interesting. I'd be curious to see.
Yeah, I have to look that up. That's interesting. I heard.
I'm sure someone's figured it out. I mean, I'm just curious
Yeah.
to see who has the most.
Yeah. It's another good example of this is a bunch of friends and I were talking about this. Is this song? There's a song out now called Hotline Bling, I don't know if you heard this song.
That sounds so familiar. I'm sure I have, but I
Yeah,
just don't know the.
it's a song by Drake.
Oh, do you want to sing it?
If there was singing involved in the song, then I would. But
Yeah, no, it's not singing.
if I thought that was singing, I'd probably try and replicate it. No, it's Drake, of course, is a Canadian-based rapper, and
Right, right.
this song is like I was talking to a friend from Australia, and he looked it up, and it was #2 in Australia. It's like #3 in Canada or something, and it's kind of like the worst song, you know. But as in terms of it's everything that goes into it, but it's so viral, I think, because he dances very weird in the video, and everyone's made memes of this dancing.
Yeah. And I actually think I do know which one you're talking about. Is that the one where he's talking about getting 3 a.m. calls or something like
Yeah,
that? Like,
yeah,
I do know. I hated that song,
yeah.
and then I liked it when I saw the video because I looked at the dancing. I'm like, he looks like he's trying to do some Bhangra stuff, but like really bad, like some Indian dancing. I'm like,
Right,
but
right,
it was
right,
like really funny. So I actually did. I agree with you. I think since when I first heard it, I always would change the channel. I'm like, this fucking sucks. I hate this song.
right,
And
right.
then I saw the video, and I just was really entertained by it. I was like, this. I like it. Like I think he's proving he can do literally anything he wants, and people are still gonna buy. Like he's like,
Yeah.
how stupid can I look? And I think it still work. Like, Eminem once said, what happened?
No, I'm saying you're exactly right. I mean, there's a bunch of people made a bunch of memes. I don't know how familiar people are with Seinfeld, but there's
Yeah.
very famous Elaine, the character on Seinfeld,
Yeah.
dancing, and people
Oh,
have
her dance. Yeah.
people have made comparisons.
That's funny. It's funny. Eminem said a long time ago, I heard in one of his interviews years ago that when he puts out his hit songs, he usually gets annoyed with them, like the real Eminem. So I forget them all, but the ones that were really kind of annoying, he's like, I usually get sick of them after like the third time I listen to it, and then I know it's gonna be a hit because it's fucking annoying.
Oh, I see. Ah, well, that's a good. Hey, that's very insightful.
Yeah, he's like, everyone I get annoyed with after 3 times listening to it, I know it's gonna be a hit. So that's pretty funny. That's a good way of looking at it.
No, but I think what you're saying about the videos too. Drake in this case as a marketing perspective, and I don't know if they sat down and were Machiavellian about this and calculated it all out. But I mean, that weird dancing has become then something that people are talking about constantly.
Right.
And so
Right.
even Bernie Sanders, who's ostensibly running for president, he did his own version where he actually did the dancing. So
That's funny.
trying to take it. That's when you know it's viral. You got some old man dancing. But yeah,
That's great. Great for president.
you're trying to get the young people out to vote, I guess.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's unbelievable.
All right, well, that's a good segue, perhaps, into what I would like to talk about today.
Yeah. I'm excited to hear that. That's really what you get nitty gritty and talk to actual people. That's a good stuff.
Yeah, I deal with people every day, of course. People who haven't listened to the first couple, perhaps. I do some street performing. I perform magic on the street, and one of the things, I think the biggest takeaway, probably, and this applies to all business, and it's the same when you're dealing with people on the street, is that you're ostensibly building a relationship. In this case, a very short, quick relationship. But you're building a relationship with them because they don't really pay you for the magic, or if you're playing a guitar, or if you're whatever. They pay because they want to be a part of your story. They had an experience, and part of that experience is the relationship that you've built. They now consider you someone they like, maybe even a friend,
Right.
And so at the end of the show, nobody lets their friends down, if you've really built that relationship properly. You have to talk about money. I think this applies to a lot of other areas of business. People are afraid to ask for money in general. Like people hate sales. Because they feel smarmy or sleazy about asking for something that they know is valuable.
Yeah.
And so it's
funny. McDonald's doesn't. They ask for the money first, and then you get paid.
Yeah, exactly.
And even like 15-year-olds can do that shit working at McDonald's. It's crazy.
Yeah, and even if you go to a lemonade stand, they frequently, how much is it? It's this much, and then they pour you a glass.
Exactly. It's the normal way of doing things.
It is.
People have to get it out of their head. I think that's also like they just don't feel good enough that they should be charging people.
Yeah, it's true. And and the street show is done kind of most street shows, anyways. There's a few exceptions, but most street shows are done in the opposite of that. You get the product first, and then you ask for money at the end. And so people have a choice. They got to see everything that they got the value up front, and then they have to decide what's that worth for them. So that relationship becomes very important. You'll see performers who are kind of performing at instead of with people,
right?
Involving people. And so when those people are done, they're like, okay, well, that guy's very good at whatever he's doing, juggling or magic or something. But what does it do for me? Nothing,
right?
I wasn't involved. I don't really know anything more about this guy than when I first walked up. Usually in my street shows, I know everybody's name or a good chunk of the people's names, where they're from. I've had many times where people have invited me out for drinks or dinner and stuff immediately following the show that they attended.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which is that's just how quick a relationship can be built. And people giving me their contact information in other countries and stuff. And really I do about 15 minutes. And so you built this quick 15-minute relationship where people are saying, if you ever come to Australia, stay with us. Here's our contact information.
Yeah.
And those people aren't going to let you down tip wise. But you have to mention money. That's the other aspect. Money has to be brought up. Now most street performers have what they call a speech. They do what they call a hat speech or a money speech, where they sort of it's like a break in the show, where they talk about how the city didn't pay to have them out here. It's only the kindness and generosity of the attendees,
right,
that are going to donate at the end of the show. And they do, some people play a little melancholy heartstrings, in the speech. Other people are more hard-edged, kind of pushy, salesy type ones. But the problem you often run into is that you're breaking the show. You're breaking out of the show and then back into the show for the finale. You usually do it right before the finale. And so that makes it tough because you kind of step out of the show for a second, which breaks the continuity of the show. And then you try to win them back, sort of. You try to get back on track. There's really only one guy, and of course I haven't seen everybody in the world, but there's one guy in particular in New Orleans who's a friend of mine. He used to be a pitchman. He would travel around and make his whole living, essentially selling, at carnivals and fairs and stuff like this. And his show is structured completely differently. His show is structured like a pitch, so it's structured like a sales pitch. So it's all contained within the actual show. He doesn't ever do a speech, and he never breaks character. And yet all that information is all sort of woven into the fabric of the show, where he still gets that message across, and yet he doesn't have to be this awkward, like, hey, you need to give me money at the end. Nobody pays me to be out here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, why don't people just weave it in? I think that's on the money. I mean, if you can weave in the talk about money into your show, then it's still entertainment. You're still being outright, but you're not kind of being desperate either. No one likes being desperate.
Yeah, when I got into copywriting, started doing copywriting and stuff, it sort of dawned on me, and seeing his show, this guy, my friend Warpo, he when I saw his show and saw the history of how he arrived at that point, it reminded me a lot of copywriting stuff, because there's little tricks and stuff he's using in there to communicate the amount of money and stuff he wants.
Right.
Too. So he'll include talking about things that have 5 and 10, the numbers 5 and 10 and stuff like that. And that's kind of like in when you're doctoring up the sales letter or some emails and stuff. There's that sort of underlying. You're tying it all back together.
Right.
So I think that's a much better way to do it. It still works the other way too. It still works pretty good. But I think artfully, and it's much more enjoyable, I think, for the people, because they just kind of like, oh yeah, of course we donate at the end. It's not that awkward,
Yeah.
aggressive
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah.
I think I think the more straightforward. I used to do pitches in front of, like, I used to do the shows in front of people to pitch them and shit,
Right.
but I never did street performance. But I think that's true. I mean, if you can just be kind of straightforward and maybe weave it into your whatever you're doing, then obviously it's gonna perform a lot better. It's more of an experience for everybody instead of just like hey, give me money because I did this, instead of just a service. It's more of like an experience for them, right?
Yeah. It's funny because when I see, I've seen all different kinds of acts, and like a breakdance act, for instance, of what breakdancers, they frequently ask, they collect the money before they do the finale usually, which is, you watch them, and there's usually many members of the breakdance team, so.
Yeah.
And they try to make it funny by saying that they learned their lesson because people left too many times in the past and they didn't get paid.
Yeah,
So they try to, but it is this real awkward, contentious almost experience, and then they do the finale where it's sort of try to win people back and bring them back to that good thing. But I think it's just a lot better if you never let that crescendo fall. It's a build
Yeah.
all to the finale.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's really interesting. I mean, it makes me want to like go to New York, or I guess one of these other places where they have a lot of street performers, and just kind of check out their pitches,
Yeah.
See who's really raking in the money. I mean, you can definitely make money on a busy street,
Oh yeah. It's interesting too because I just watched that movie, The Walk. It's about the guy who strung the high wire between the World Trade Centers back in like 73 or 74. And he was a street performer. He was a juggler. And it shows him in the early parts of when he was in Paris and stuff, and sort of what he did, how his act evolved and how he started incorporating wire walking, even on the street, in his street performances. It was very interesting to see sort of some of that, included as part of the thing. He did a silent character, juggled and walked on the wires and did it all silently. So it's a very, there's just so many ways to do it. There's no absolute.
I wonder if for like, I wonder if like, I was just thinking about this. Like, if I were a juggler or something, let's say, right, and I'm doing my performance, I would try to get as many. I would do what I used to do, and I had to like sell shit face to face. I would try to build a big audience if I was in a big group of people, and then get ready for my show. And then after I do my show, I would just say, hey guys, thanks so much for all of your views or all of your whatever. Thanks for watching me. I've got a $10 donation going on. And if you donate, you also get this free book and this CD that shows you exactly how to do what I just did. And, yada, yada. So if you like that, guys, donation box is right here. Raise your hand. Who wants one of these CDs?
It's funny because people do that in certain areas. One of the things that becomes problematic with that, though, is the law. As a street performer, you're allowed to take donations, but if they believe you're soliciting for a product or something, you then become a vendor, and then you fall under different laws.
Yeah, so that's why you got to. Yeah, hey, this is a donation as a for your $10 specifically $10 donation.
Yeah.
You get this and whatever.
That's why
we don't take donations.
Yeah, that's why yeah, exactly. That's why the artful stuff works better. There's actually places where you're not allowed to talk about the denominations. There's certain cities where you're not allowed to actually mention what you want. It's completely open. But what people will do, and I'll give a shout out to my friend Bobby, because he's kind of Bobby from Kentucky, because he's kind of guy that would do this and has done this. He would say, instead of not asking for certain denominations, he would say that he can't ask for certain denominations. So if you're not allowed to ask for it, you would say, hey, I'm not allowed to ask for 5s and 10s out here, or 20s, because they won't let me, which is kind of a funny way of circumventing the rules.
But I'm going to drop this hat on the floor, and if anything seems to fall into it, I appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly,
That's
exactly.
something
Right?
else. I love
Yeah. So it's
it. I love
interesting.
it. I think that's
Yeah, it's very funny to see that sort of different when you travel to different cities, what the
right.
relations are and what they let you do and not or try to not let you do.
Yeah. I mean, it's all sales. The
It
best
is.
thing is that the people who are able to do stuff in front of others, I think they learn the fastest because you actually get to see the person's face and how they react when you ask for a pitch or a sale or whatever it is. Like you actually get to see that and see the motion behind it instead of just trying to figure it out through data and statistics. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So those guys have yeah, I mean, if you're in front of anybody, you've got a better chance. I've always told people that if they're trying to get an understanding of what their current customers are like, because sometimes, you've got a big customer list if you're like an info marketer or something, but you've got different types of people on that list. You don't know exactly what your client or what your customer looks like. You're trying to get a good idea of what the avatar is. I've always told people, get your phone and call like 100 of those people and just interview them for like 5 minutes and just get an idea of what they thought of your. I mean, you have all the other ways of doing it also, but you get a real understanding of who your customer is if you actually get to talk to them, if you get to see them, even better.
Oh yeah, we often say street performers. We talk about this quite a lot, and we say that every show has an audience. So a show has although there's a lot of crossover, of course. Your show attracts a certain brand, certain demographic, whether that's families or the drunk American bro, or whoever
Right.
your demographic is because of how crass your show is or how hard edged. Will attract different people, and just the way you look and stuff will attract different people. You may look more
Right.
like a hippie or a gypsy or something, and another person looks more formal. It
Right.
attracts different people. I think it was actually Penn Jillette, famous magician, Penn and Teller. Penn Jillette started. Yeah, yeah. He started on the street. He's a juggler. He was originally a juggler, and he started on the street. And he would talk about how he was always impeccably dressed. And it was funny because
Right.
it's kind of on that age-old thing where until when you get money, then you almost don't need it anymore. It's like you look really
Right.
good and you look like you don't need it. People give you more for some reason.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah. That's interesting.
it's
That's
like
interesting.
it's like really rich people not paying for food and game tickets or concert tickets anymore because people just start giving them to them.
That's like some sign.
Yeah, you finally get the
It's an
money to
endorsement.
buy stuff. Yeah, exactly.
It's an endorsement. I don't pay for things anymore. I just take it. It's an endorsement now. I endorse your product. Thank you. That's
Yeah,
funny. I
well,
would love to.
you see that quite a bit, like because people will come, a celebrity comes into the restaurant and they don't pay for their food and stuff. Either somebody else pays for it or the restaurant just gives it to them. It's like you finally attained a level of success and you got the money to pay for all this stuff, and then you don't need it
I
anymore.
don't need to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's
That's the way
pretty
the
funny.
world. That's the way the world works.
Yeah. That's pretty funny. That's true, though. I didn't really think of it that way. That's true. Yeah, it is what it is. You still gotta go get it.
All right, so let's wind this down. Maybe we've got some good takeaways. I think people like the one I think from my end of things is like you want to create a relationship with no matter what kind of business you're in. It's all based on relationships. That's why those deals are done on the golf course and over a cold beer, and not necessarily across a desk or something like that. So it's always we talk about the street shows always being about the audience, their experience. They're leaving with something, and that's why they're going to tip you. Think about the customer's experience. There's so many companies out there whose customer service and or website or whatever it is such a hard thing to get through.
Right.
That it costs them sales and so forth like that. So you want to leave them with that experience.
Yeah. Absolutely. The
Make it easy.
experience is everything.
Yeah, make
People
it
buy
easy.
Starbucks for the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. What about in regards to some of your video domination things, Carlos?
The biggest takeaway really with that is you just got to set your mind on what you're going to take over. If you're going to do some like video domination type shit, is it local marketing or is it a big keyword like, gas or like a crazy keyword or some shit that's really broad, then it's just you're gonna have a few more things like how many views, how many subscribers you have, a few other little things to it. But if you're going after an audience that is, I mean, copywriting is somewhat broad, but it's still kind of narrowed down to a lot of the other keywords. The biggest thing I would do is upload like 1,000 videos for one keyword and make that a minimum. And remember, you don't actually have to do 1,000 videos. You just got to do like 20 or 40 or
Right.
whatever, and then duplicate those and then re-upload those.
Yeah.
And name the keyword and the title for every single one. Put a 1 or 2 sentence description with the link to where you want them to go, and make sure that keyword is in the link, and that's it. And then just upload a fuckload, and that's the biggest takeaway, and you're gonna start seeing results.
Absolutely, man. Great takeaway. That's excellent. I'm eager to see somebody. In fact, I'm going to do this myself.
Hell yeah.
We can't talk about next week. We're going to have copywriter, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name properly, Everett Farnell.
Right. Yeah, he's a badass. I've followed some of his stuff that he posts. The guy's really good, high level copywriter, really cool guy. I think he's actually in Florida also, where I am. So that's kind of cool.
I think he is. So the next show we do, we'll have Everett Farnell, and we'll get him to delve into some specific some copy questions and sales questions as to how he makes the real big money with some of these bigger clients and so forth.
Exactly. And hey, anyone, I just wanted to throw this in. Anyone who has any questions that they want to ask us or ask Everett, send them into our Facebook page. Just shoot them just send us a private message through there. What is it? It's Facebook Takeover Tuesday is the name, right?
Yeah, it's facebook.com/Takeover Tuesday podcast.
That's it. Takeover Tuesday podcast. Just send us a message there, and we'll just see if we include that in the show. So, hell yeah. Well, this is a good episode, man. I can't wait to talk to you and Everett again in a week. Hopefully every one of our listeners had a great time. Hopefully took some notes and are about to put some shit into action. Yeah, man. Well, I'll talk to you next week. Sound good?
Sounds good, Carlos. Have a good day.
All right, man. Ciao. Take care, everybody.
I would also like to mention the music for the show comes from Ben Sound at bensound.com.